All right. We in the building again. Faf. It's another episode of the Fallen in the Forest podcast. See, every now and again, I'm able to be just a little bit consistent. I'm able to bring something to the table. All right? Every now and again, I record more than an episode every 2 months. So it's been a little bit of a wild period. It's been a little bit of a wild period of time since the last time I did this. I believe the last time I did this was, I think it came out on election day, right? Or maybe not. I'm not sure. I think it did. I think it came out on election day. So since the last time I recorded this, a lot of us, I think, have gotten what we would consider some grim news. The country is back to the way it was in 2016, almost immediately. I'm not gonna lie. I'm a little bit shocked by how quickly the internet has devolved. It's kind of a symptom of a Trump presidency and everything that he kind of emboldens when the internet goes to absolute shit. And I mean, like, in a way more than I think it has, but it's always striking to me how quickly it happens. Like, if at any moment I was in doubt about how quickly the Trump effect takes root, it's like it's immediate. It's immediate. And I think the second election has helped me to see that. But I mean, we know why that is, right? It's because there's a level of safety that he affords certain groups of people, that people feel really, really comfortable and safe to say certain things when Trump is in office. And he's not even in office yet. This shit is getting crazy. I think I saw on Twitter, and I don't want to act like Twitter is always the end all be all of this, but I'm pretty sure I saw an official senator's account tweeting like the N-word and shit, right? Like, and saying like, oh, we use the N-word and the F-word in this house and da-da-da-da. Now listen, I always like to give people a little bit of the benefit of the doubt. Like, is this a comedy thing? Is this something I'm not understanding that's happening here? Perhaps this is a bit, and I'm like not in on the joke, right? Because everybody has these little enclaves and echo chambers now, where it's like, maybe I'm just not a part of the echo chamber. Maybe this means something. So I go like scrolling through the page, and somebody was like, he's probably hacked. At no point did he address it. He just kept on tweeting like normal, right? So it's like, the world's in a bit of a strange place. Elon Musk is now what? Is now head. It's him and somebody else are like head of like what? Something efficiency. I'm not even. I guess I just read these things. I can't. Why is Elon Musk? You know what? We'll get to it. But what has really captured my attention today is something that I will admit I wasn't really privy to, so I had to do some digging in, and it became this thing that just fascinated me, this fascinating situation. This guy named Jack Teixeira. Have you heard of this? This guy named Jack Teixeira, I guess he's like the new Edward Snowden. He's like a 21-year-old kid who landed an IT job with the Air Force. And is now responsible for leaking like 300 plus documents. Documents about what, you might ask? All kinds of shit. Documents about all kinds of shit, from Chinese spy balloons, whatever those are. That sounds hella racist, and it sounds like something you would find on like Tumblr, but it's real. Chinese spy balloons. Real stats on like what's going on in the Ukraine, Chinese espionage missions. Why does everything keep going back to Chinese? I love orange chicken, and so I feel like this is like, I don't want it to seem like it's a personal attack on the Chinese. It's not. What I'm saying though is like to give you a peek at the magnitude of some of the stuff that came out in these leaks. Right, and it's another example of this chronically online culture, because it's not like some Edward Snowden shit. This guy is not actually a whistleblower, right? Like he wasn't revealed. He's got 15 years, by the way. I think that's important. We got to give it up. Shout out to the criminal justice system. My man was 21 years old, and that's all over now. All right, we won't see him until he's at least 36. And I still haven't decided whether or not that's a sad thing. But the man was in a Discord server. The man was in a Discord server, and it was real. It was one of those. It was neo-Nazi. It was conspiracy theories. It was Jews Control the World. It was one of those servers, right? And like, this is like this perfect nexus point of all the ridiculousness and fuckery that 2024 and the era we live in is built on, right? Is that like there is this strong fervor for these, how should we say this, maladjusted young people to find solace in these groups of real just ridiculousness. And of course, in hindsight, this is the funny thing about it, right? It's like the Washington Post did like a little thing with PBS about it, and it's like everybody's selling Jack out. Jack has no friends, right? Everybody who was right there in the discourse with Jack is on camera. And I don't understand young people sometimes, because it'll be like this person prefers to be referred to by their internet name, and the name will be like Puck or like Crow, but the person's face will be in it. Like one of them was like, okay, call me by my internet name and just show like my chin, and a little bit of lip. And I was like, okay, you might not be able to guess who this person is, but there was one of them who was legit, like he didn't want to use his name, he wanted to use his internet name, but he was just sitting there. It was just him at a table. I'm looking at this nigga, and I'm like, I almost want to reverse image search you because I just like, why can't I know who you are now? I know who you are. I might not know your name, but it's not difficult for me to find it out. But this guy worked as IT. If you IT, he's in charge of all the hardware and the software and whatever the fuck needs to be diddled with to make things work and for people to perform their job. So he's becoming, he's handling very, very sensitive information. I guess we should start from the beginning, right? And this is the thing now. The world is evolving. I was born in 1996, so I am a part of a chronically online generation, but I'm also a part of a generation that existed in a time, like I watched that thing develop, right? Like I wasn't born chronically online, right? Like I wasn't handed an iPad at 5 years old, 3 years old. I wasn't sitting in front of the computer at 5 years old, 3 years old. So, like, this guy has apparently always been an internet kid, and you can find pictures of him because he's 21 now. So what was that? He was born in like fucking, I don't know, yesterday, and the kid is one of those. Like on some, like, you would be confused as to how he even got the gig. The background check to work for the Air Force has got to be hella easy, because I have a sneaking suspicion that you could be a literal terrorist and still get the gig. He grows up, he's a little bit maladjusted, you know what I mean? He's one of these kids that's always online and always gaming, which is fine. I like the game. I'm always online. It's dope. I don't know if I call myself chronically online, because those people kill people nowadays. But he gets to high school and he starts to have some problems, Jack. He starts to have some problems. He threatening to kill people at school. It was okay. So he could have been a school shooter. He could have did that. He could have went down the school shooter path and like really been one of the OGs of this shit and locked shit down. But he decided against that. So I guess he was like telling kids in school he had like a Molotov cocktail in his backpack. Regular normal teenager shit. He's like, I got a Molotov cocktail in my backpack. Should I throw it? And one of the girls in the Discord server was a lover of his. Right? They dated. They never met. They have never met in their entire lives, but they had a relationship. They dated, which is another thing that kind of confuses me. Not because I'm shocked that it happens, right? Like, I know that people meet each other online and never meet each other in person and build a relationship. I just didn't think that people were still doing it now. I didn't think that young people were still doing that. I thought that was like for old, really, really sad people who you feel bad for because they're never going to find love because really they don't deserve it. But these guys, he's like 19 or 18 at the time, and this young lady I think is of similar age. And so they're dating, and he's telling her things like, I really hated school. I hate my teacher. I should have shot up my school. I really should have. Like, this is the type of kid that we're dealing with, right? And I only say, I'm stressing all of this stuff to stress that this is not like Edward Snowden, right? Like, this is not somebody who, like, thought that they were, like, some paragon of virtue and that the American citizens needed to understand certain things, that they were being deceived, and that this would get in the way of freedom, and the surveillance state is bad, and all that shit. No. No. This is a kid in a Discord server, neo-Nazi, fucking around. Shout out to Doja Cat for always being ahead of the curve, because it all goes back to them racial chat rooms and showing feet. This is what happens. This is what happens when you get in them racial chat rooms and you start doing all these things, because Crow is Jack's girlfriend, ex-girlfriend, because eventually it got to be too much, right? Eventually it got to be too much and she left him. And this is what frustrates me. Not really, because I don't feel bad for Jack. I don't. What frustrates me is that, like, everybody gets a pass now, right? Everybody who was in the Discords, who was loving it and enjoying themselves and participating in all this debauchery and fuckery, now gets to be interviewed and talk about what an idiot Jack was. Or Crow seemed like she legitimately felt bad for him. Like, she was like, oh, when you're in these groups, it's really, really easy to this and that and the third. And I don't know what she means. I've never found it easy to become a neo-Nazi or to join these groups and start to decide that, like, you know, it was some real intense racism going on there. And that's not to say that minorities can't be racist or can't be prejudiced. I have so many people in my life who are the same color as me, and they're so racist. So it's not that. When people go, and this is what I mean about, I think it has to do with a certain age, but I don't, because you see this happening, you see people getting radicalized in this way at all kinds of ages, right? It's like you see 50-year-olds falling victim to this message, and 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds. But to me, it is just such an alien kind of, like, what do you mean it's so easy? It's not. I don't think it's that easy to start hating Jewish people. I don't think it's that easy to start. Like, at one point, you gotta understand, like, at one point, Jack makes a video where he's demonstrating himself shooting his guns, of course, because as one does. And what he said something, he said Jews scam, niggers rape. And he said something along the lines that he was gonna do something about it, and then proceeded to fire his pistols. I mean, his guns. How do you get to that point? Right? And when you do get to that point, how do you get to the point where you're so comfortable leaving evidence of how you feel? Like, it has to do, you know, young, dumb, full of cum. You feel like all of these things, you know, you feel righteous and you feel like the world is just trying to police the way that you tell the truth. And so you must, you know, you're right at the end of the day, right? When you're young, that's what you care about. You care about being right. And apparently, I got to stop doing this because it's not an age thing, I don't think. At this point in society, I think it's just it's where we are. It's where we are, and this is something that I think we're going to see an increasing amount of, and we have been seeing an increasing amount of. But in Trump's America, I think we're going to just see this stuff become more and more emboldened as he begins to surround himself with people who hold a lot of these ideas. But back to Jack, right? Of course, everybody is selling Jack clean down the river. Everybody's talking about how, you know, they're really embarrassed that they were a part of this group, and that, you know, it was just where they were in their life, and people. I think a lot of older people don't understand just how dark young people's humor can get, and what we think is okay, and this, that, and the third, but at least they were honest. They kind of fessed up about it. Like, they did really believe this shit. Right? And that's why Crow said she left the group, because she said she realized she didn't really believe a lot of this shit, right? And she just, upon further scrutiny, I suppose, she decided that perhaps the Jews were not involved in a plot to destroy her and whiteness in general. So back to Jack, right? Jack gets in trouble in school and has to take, he gets suspended and has to take a psych evaluation in order to continue his education. Jack wants to shoot up his school. Jack has alluded to having, I guess, a Molotov cocktail is a makeshift bomb of sorts, right? And immediately upon graduating high school, he missed his graduation ceremony so that he could attend basic training. Immediately gets a position that requires a background check where he has to fill out a form consisting of like 180 pages. It's not even like a loose background check. Like, apparently Jack managed to pass a severe and thorough background check and was able to get into... I want to tell you how deep this goes, because I really wish that I was an unassuming white man. There's a lot of times in my life where I just really needed the cover of being an unassuming white man, or really any kind of white man. Not because people misunderstand you when you say that. I don't think I'd be Elon Musk. I don't think I'd be Jeff Bezos. I don't think I'd be some super elite rich person and all my dreams would come true. No, I think that it's just the fact that you don't stand out. You get to make mistakes. You get to become a domestic terrorist. Like, right? Like, you get to develop at your own pace in your own little cocoon, and you can safely become a menace to society as a white person. You can even bounce back from being a menace to society. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't see a black kid getting away with all this. I don't see a black kid struggling with wanting to shoot up his school and nobody giving a fuck. I don't see a black kid basically calling it a bomb threat at his school and being allowed to come back after like 2 days. It could happen, I guess, but then I don't see the black kid getting into the Air Force and getting disciplined several times. How about right? His position as an internet technician specialist, or whatever the fuck IT stands for, his position allowed him access to sensitive material and data, sometimes unsupervised at night. I'm talking 15 people lost their jobs. 15 people lost their jobs because of dereliction of duty, because he was caught taking pictures, right? He was caught by somebody taking pictures of sensitive information, of classified shit, Pentagon documents. They caught him taking pictures. They caught him viewing material that he was not supposed to. Classified material. This kid is 20, 21 years old. It's not even like he's got time in. He's fresh new. Get him the fuck out of here. No. He gets offered a promotion after he gets caught snooping. This guy he's a Russian spy. This guy's a Russian spy, and they say, "We love what you're doing here. Would you like it? We're thinking about taking this to the next level." He turns down the promotion. Presumably so he can keep being the man on Discord. So this entire time, he's been a part of this Discord community for maladjusted children. And forgive me, this is a very loose script. I know I'm everywhere. I know I'm everywhere. You're probably not even listening at this point. But if you are, try to follow me here. He's on this Discord. And he's slowly been becoming like a really, really popular figure on the Discord. At some point, I think he takes over the Discord, or he starts another Discord and people come to that. So he's one of the older kids in the Discord at this point, being like 19, 20, 21 or whatever. Like the rest of these kids are like, a lot of them are 15, 16, 17. So he's becoming sort of like an elder statesman. And this is one of these radicalized groups that we see popping up lately. And there's plenty of YouTube videos on the path to becoming like a radical right-wing person, and this even more videos, and half of them being useless, of like how I escaped the alt-right pipeline and all that shit, right? But this is some real alt-right pipeline type shit, right? What's going on in this Discord. And one of them lands a government job, lands a job with the Air Force that allows them to have access to these classified documents, and Jack is the fucking man now. Like, I'm talking about, Jack has people in the Discord from other countries, and he goes, "Yo, you're from you're from around the Ukraine, right?" And this guy goes, "Yeah, a small village near there. Why?" He says, "Hey, incoming wave of niggers," or something like that, right? I don't know. I need a bleep. I need a bleep on this podcast. I don't have a bleep, but I don't think anybody's listening. But I don't have a bleep, so I'm gonna just say it. I just want to remind people that I'm black, because I might not sound it to you, but I'm 100% nigga, right? But right, like, and I don't even think he was talking about black people. I think he was talking about immigrants. But like, he's the man, right? He's letting other people and this is one of the reasons he gets caught up, right? Because that's the perfect charge you want to catch. So not only are you obtaining illegally and disseminating sensitive national secrets that put national security at risk, you're also giving them to foreign nationals. Now, I don't have to tell you that Jack is not the smartest person that you've ever met, right? Jack is not his good white genetics are not doing what they're supposed to be doing. Like he's you know, at once he thinks he's more intelligent than obviously than people like you or I, or unless you're a white guy, and in that case I think you're all good with Jack. But right, he's like supposed to be this superior, higher intelligence type of guy, and everything about him is given stupid. But really, in my opinion, everything about him is giving 21, because this is what it's like to be 21. So he starts disseminating this information into his Discord, because there's no way that can go wrong. There's no way that can come back to bite you in the ass, right? Like, let's just commit treason. Fuck it. And again, I don't want to act like I don't have an understanding for, like, whistleblowers and shit like that. Like, that's an interesting conversation. Like, what do we think about Edward Snowden? What do you think? What do I think? That's an interesting conversation. That's a conversation worth having. What do you think about Jack Teixeira? I don't think that's that interesting a conversation. I think he's a fucking idiot. He's a goofball. But I don't know if I feel bad. Like, let's listen. A 21-year-old has essentially lost 15 years of his life. When he gets out of prison, and I think he's getting court-martialed, so maybe there's more than 15 years coming his way, but I think he's been officially and formally sentenced to 15 years in prison. He will lose half his life. He will lose, you know, three-fourths of the life he's already lived. I don't know. Is that sad? I haven't decided that yet. I don't feel bad currently, but it just goes to show you that when you run around indulging in these things, they have real consequences. And I do feel worse when it's somebody of that age. Right? I do feel worse when it's somebody who's been kind of getting indoctrinated into these things since they were like 15, 16. And then next thing you know, you're 21 years old. And this is the problem, right? You're making these mistakes. And one could argue that perhaps he shouldn't have been, you know, perhaps you can definitely argue that the Air Force didn't do their due diligence and that they let themselves down and possibly let this kid down, even though, again, I'm not really sure that we should be all that concerned about doing right by Jack. Well, I know I shouldn't. I know I'm not, right? Because I'm somebody that Jack thinks doesn't belong here. And that's fine. I respect his opinion because Jack's a smart guy. So if he's not in the Air Force, right, then he doesn't get access to this sensitive information, and then he's not in jail for 15 years. Like, imagine going to jail for 15 years while you're still a fucking moron. That's where I almost feel bad, because what if at 21 or 22 I did something, and listen, I very well could have. Right, we're not going to get into everything and all this other stuff because I'm not Jack. I'm not an idiot. I'm not stupid. I'm not here to tell you what's wrong with me and what I've done. That's not what this is. But what I am saying is that imagine if at 21 they put me in jail. Imagine if at 21 they put me in jail for 15 years for a decision I made. That would be sad to me because it's me, right? So it becomes, that's where I think it becomes relatable. In that sense, right, is that there are a lot of people, I think, right now in the society we live in now that are just fucking idiots and that fall victim to this nonsense that in this process of radicalization. Like, where does it start? Where does it end, right? The video games, Discord, you know, is largely, I think, viewed as like a gaming chat room platform type of deal, right? Like gaming chat servers and things of that nature. I know a lot of podcasters use Discord to communicate with like patrons and stuff like that or whatever, but I personally feel like there is, right, a pipeline, for lack of a better term. There's this alt-right neo-Nazi radicalization pipeline that many children and even adults are finding themselves squarely in the crosshairs of. And I don't really know how to reconcile it. I don't know how to reconcile it, not because I necessarily feel bad for these people, but simply because, like, on a human level, these people do make up a decent enough chunk of society where I don't necessarily know if we can just act like it's not significant. I don't know if we can act like it's not significant, and if it doesn't say anything about a lot of changes that we need to make. I don't know what the first thing you do is, right? Because media literacy is out of the window. The internet has totally fried people's ability to differentiate truth from fiction. It's done. Like, it's finished. Like, the age where your average person is like fairly intelligent. Maybe that was never the case in this country, but like the period of time where your average adult is like fucking halfway prepared to deal with what the world is going to throw at them, that's fucking over. Like, people don't know what to believe. Like, I know black people who just have decided they're Native American. They just are now. Like, they don't believe that the majority of African Americans came off a slave ship into the United States. They don't believe these things. They have just decided that they're Native Americans and that their history is something that the white man is lying to them about. And it's tough to deal with because the white man is lying to us about a lot of our history. But that's not it, right? That's not the answer. That's not what's going on here. But people really believe these things. So it's not just like, I don't want to make it to be this specific young, angsty, white male version of this thing that I can't relate to or that I've never seen before, because I have. I've seen it and I can relate to it, right? But where do we go from here? Especially from what it looks like to me is like the next 4 years is poised to get even worse. I think that we are on the cusp of a great reckoning in this country, and I don't know what it looks like. I don't know where it will lead us, but something's gonna have to happen. I don't know if it's gonna have to be like the CIA or the FBI, or they're gonna have to run some type of program, man. They're gonna have to run some type of like reverse MK Ultra to like reset us back to like functioning, intelligent human beings. Like, I think you really need to throw us away. Like, I think America as it is right now, the unwashed masses, and this goes against a lot of my politics, man. Like, I really do believe that we all need to come together and educate ourselves and rise up, and that the average common working man needs to, this whole idea that everybody's like a closet billionaire in the making, and all the celebrity worship and stuff is just, I think it's corrosive, and I think that the majority of us need to come together and support each other, whether that be LGBTQ, whether that be, if you're a woman, whether you be minority ethnically of some sort, and generally you are some cross-section of that, right? Because we're not just one identity, right? We're not. There are gay black people. There are gay trans black people. There are black women. There are, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's all these things at some point will cross in a way that that many, if you do your research on people who have felt these ways and spoken better on these things than I can currently, then they would argue that, you can't ignore one side of people, because you can't ignore one side of the problem, because there are people that belong to multiple different sides of the aisle, right? So it's like, you can't ignore gay issues just because you're black, because there are black people who are gay, right? You can't ignore feminist issues just because you're a man, right? Like, you can't ignore these things, and I think you have to, at the end of the day, embrace these things. And so I try to embrace these other people. I care. I do. Not about Jack, because Jack's a fucking idiot, but I care about a lot of what's going on in the world, and and about these maladjusted young people. I don't know how I feel about the grown motherfuckers who was born in like 1975, 1987, but at the same time, I think these people have been rocked. The internet and the mass proliferation of fake, nonsensical news, right? Of people, like, people can't tell what's real and what's wrong, right? It used to be you pick up like a National Enquirer or whatever those fucking parody news magazines were and shit like that, and you would know it was fake, right? You would know it was fake. Now people don't know. They don't, right? Like, I remember when I was younger, I picked up a copy of the Willie Lynch letters, thinking it was real, right? And I think the Willie Lynch letters are like great art. I do. Like, I do think that they have something to offer if you read them as a piece of historical fiction. But I picked those things up, and I was shedding tears. I thought this was a slave breaking manual. I thought I was reading a survived slave breaking manual, and I was just blown away. But I just have that thing in me where I can't. I have to Google. I Google more than I need to Google. I Google more than I should Google, and it takes all the fun out of my life. Every time I find some nice fun thing that I can like sail away into the sunset on and just be like, yo, this thing right here, this is it. This is the identity I've been searching for. I Google too much, and I'm just like, no. I can't rock with that. That's bullshit. I think that's bullshit. And like say, I'm from New York. Like, I'm from Brooklyn, New York specifically. Like, yo, that 5% of shit, that 5% of shit had a strong hold on New York. Like, I know people who tried to tell me that the white man was created in a cave by a scientist named Yakub from the skin of a pig. I swear to God. I swear to God. Yeah, I swear to God. A person has said this to me and been 100% serious, and I pretended to believe him because I didn't want to have these awkward conversations, but this is the truth, right? This is what we interact with. And I think we have to start taking these things more seriously. We have to confront them because we're losing the children. We just lost Jack Teixeira. Fucking Jack, bro. They got fucking Jack. They got Jack. But also, I do think it is fucking hilarious that Jack has now found himself in a position where, again, Jack just got sentenced to 15 years at 21 years old for being a fucking idiot, douchebag, racist piece of shit. And he's 21, so I can say this. He's an adult. He's not a child. I'm not throwing away a baby here, right? He's a kid, but he's an adult. Right? Jack's a piece of shit. But Jack can grow. But can you imagine? He's about to do 15 years and like 6 months in, he's going to realize that it was all bullshit. Like, bro, I just went to jail for 15 years for fuckery. Fuckery, nonsense, play, pretend shit with my homeboys on Call of Duty. Right? Like, why? Why did I have to have that job? Because maybe he won't take accountability. Maybe Jack's fun and he won't take responsibility and we get to ride this ride just a little bit longer. And it's like, why did I have to get this fucking job? Because I think ultimately that's the other side of this, is that the only reason that this went so horribly wrong, I mean, the other side of it is like one of these people is motivated to act and goes and fucking shoots up a grocery store, right? Like, we've literally seen that, or goes and shoots up a church. We've literally seen that. That's the other side of this, right? And that's what's like terrible about it, is that we can act like if he didn't have access to these classified documents and this thing would have just been harmless. And 9 times out of 10, it is harmless. I think I was watching an FD Salinger video not long ago, and he's always talking about like the misanthropic young male or whatever. And I don't want to wax poetic about that, but one thing he did say that I do think is largely forgotten right now in this age of hysteria, rightfully so, right? Because like I said, the country is eroding, right? People are fucking idiots, and what's worse, they're hateful idiots. And there's few things more dangerous than hateful idiots, right? But he said that often these people are not necessarily really dangerous to anyone but themselves, right? They're more dangerous to themselves and their own personal health and well-being than they are to anybody else, and they're pretty easy to spot and avoid, right? And this is why they form these enclaves and these groups, and this is why they consider themselves so counterculture and everything. Nothing wrong with being countercultural. I just don't necessarily think you have to be a douche to do it. But I the other side of this coin is it just builds and builds and builds, and one of them goes out and commits an act of little itty bitty genocide, like small genocide, like you go somewhere and you kill like 6 Mexicans, like baby genocide, like, which is like terrible. Or you do what Jack said he should have done, because never forget that wise, introspective Jack said that he should have shot his school up. I'm in hindsight, I should have killed all them niggas. I get it. I'm not even mad at him. But what it must feel like. Because it probably doesn't feel like it yet, because I don't think he's been deprogrammed. I think Jack is still firmly convinced that the Jews are behind this. Mm-hmm. I think that Jack is still firmly convinced that some fucking Jew narked on him. But in reality, let's be real. He got caught because this shit started spreading. Once your shit ends up on 4chan, and it's always 4chan. It is always 4chan. It will always be 4chan. After nuclear war, there will be cockroaches and 4chan and Reddit. It's over. They're cemented. 4chan is the GOAT. Right? Everything negative in the world will take place on 4chan first and foremost, right? The moment his shit hit and he realized, he started panicking, he started trying to delete what he could, but the problem is all this shit ends up in other places. People are screenshotting it. Why he thought that wouldn't happen is beyond me. Because Jack is a moron. But he's our moron. And oh my god, my girl is a clown. He's our moron, right? Jack is really here for all of us, and I just want us to take a moment and if we really can take a moment and understand what brother Jack is going through right now. But it's gonna suck. It's gonna suck because 6 months, 7 months, 8 months in to his sentence, I do think Jack is probably smart enough to piece together that, oh my god, I'm gonna be here until I'm 40. For some fuckery, for some bullshit that I don't even believe. Because that's what his friends get on. That's what his friends get to be in the PBS documentary and say. They get to go, I don't even really believe in this shit. It was a really terrible, embarrassing time in my life. Because they didn't leak shit. You get to be the entertainment. This is what the edgiest of the edgelords, this is what you end up being. You just end up being a story. It was like, yo, Jack was crazy. Dude, I used to know this kid, Jack. And he was almost there. Everything was and when they came to got him, first of all, when they came and got him, it looked like my boy's family was doing well off. Like he had a mom, a stepdad, and a real dad up. I mean, obviously. But it looked like he was doing well off. Like he was like on this like dope ass fucking balcony area. First of all, dramatic. Jack is very fucking dramatic. When the police came for him, Jack signs into his Discord and goes, yo, I really hoped it wouldn't come to this. I prayed it wouldn't come to this, but it's in God's hands now. I love you all. Like, dude, we don't fucking know you. Fuck you, and you're hot. The police are on your dick. Don't hit the chat. Don't post anything in the chat. Go away. We're all going to tell on you. But they find Jack reading. He's waiting for the police reading a Bible. Like, you dramatic bitch. Jack is the worst. I love Jack. Jack's a good guy. But, yeah. That's enough on that. I the bulk of the podcast has been about that. I didn't mean for the bulk of the podcast to be about that. And I'll be honest, I wish that I was a little bit more focused. But I learned about this thing today, and I just, at the last second, I was like, I gotta talk about this on a podcast, and I didn't have time to organize it properly. When you get a chance, please look up, if you haven't already, please look up what's going on with Jack Teixeira. Just got sentenced to 15 years for being the exact kind of douche that the country needed at this moment. And he will serve as a lesson for so many other people. And that's the beauty of the situation, is that he really, really, really did do what he set out to do and improve the lives of everybody on that Discord server, because now they have a steaming hot example of what not to do, what not to be, and why all of that shit is fuckery, right? Because then this is what Trump's America is. Now on some lighter news, last night, it was just me. I was laying in bed. Ashley was asleep. And I was just like, yo, I don't want to go to sleep yet. I want to put something on. I want to watch something. Right? Because, Ashley, we've been blowing through shit. We watch this, we watch that. We do what we can. But I'm like, all right, what can I throw on right now? I'm looking through the Max app. And I'm like, yo, you know what? What they got comedy-wise? Because I really wanted to watch a documentary, but I was like, yo, it's like 3 a.m. I'm only staying up till like 3:30, 4 o'clock max. let me throw on a comedy special, right? I'm like, let me throw on a comedy special. And I noticed, because I'd seen this in the past, but I never paid it much mind. I noticed, yo, they got the Marlon Wayne shit on here. I'm like, they got the Marlon Wayne shit on here. I've never heard anybody say anything about this. I've never heard anything positive about this, but I've never heard anything negative about this. And Marlon Wayne's, has been in the news recently because he had the whole thing with Vlad, which I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie, bro. Like, I'm not pro Vlad, but I'm not anti Vlad like a lot of people is anti Vlad. I feel like we gotta stop infantilizing people. Like, we do have to protect people who are being taken advantage of. I do not think the vast majority of Vlad guests are that. I don't. I think that a lot of it is just nonsense. I think a lot of it is people like, I think he fell out with Lord Jamar and Joffrey behind that shit when they found out other niggas was getting paid and they wasn't, or this and the third. Like, it's like, yo, now all of a sudden he's the enemy and this and that and the third. And I'm like, okay. Or like the rappers, like, yo, he gets all these rappers to say incriminating stuff about themselves and shit like that. Like, yo, I'm not gonna lie. I don't feel bad for anybody who's gone on DJ Vlad and incriminated themselves. Why? Because you don't have to. I don't know if people know this. You don't actually have to tell people things you don't want them to know. I know. Wild, crazy. Like, when I first found this out, I lost it. But, like, you can actually not say things that you don't want people to know. And it'll be fine. Like, if somebody has a camera pointed at you and they're asking you questions, you can lie. You can, like, say, I don't really want to answer that. You can just not answer it. Like, these are grown fucking men. And, like, it's like the shit, like, the level of vitriol that we have for Vlad, I think, is just so much more than we ever give to these guys who go on there and say things they fucking shouldn't. Like, people are not children. You understand what I'm saying? Like, people are not children. There's things you don't say in public if you don't want to be questioned on them. Like you don't want to tell somebody that you shot a lot of niggas, right? Maybe you don't. Like, if you're on camera and you don't want people to know you shot a lot of niggas, maybe you don't tell niggas you shot a lot of niggas. This is what I would imagine, but Vlad already catches a lot of flack because people in the quote unquote black community think that it's cool to say that they don't like DJ Vlad's get down. In reality, I think DJ Vlad runs a platform where he interviews people, and his interviews tend to do numbers, and it can be great promotion for the person he's interviewing, and it certainly helps his channel out, and it helps him to continue to make money and keep the machine going. Now, if you want to argue that there are better interviewers out there, yes. If you want to argue that you feel like his content just isn't what you want to consume, totally fair. I rarely tune into Vlad nowadays. I rarely do. There's not many interviews I think are worth watching nowadays, right? I have to really, really be interested in what you're doing. Before I would just watch interviews for sport because it'd be fun, but every now and again he'll have an interview with the type of person, and I'm like, yo, this is an interesting story. Let me check it out, or this and the third. But I've largely kind of stopped watching that, and that's really what I think it is, right? I think you just don't support it if you don't think it's good. But like this whole thing where we respond, like maybe Vlad is the type that doesn't give a fuck if you come on his platform and expose yourself. So what? So what? Why should he? It's not up to him to keep you out of jail. It's not. He's not entrapping you. He's not like wearing a wire, right? Like and coaxing you into saying things that you're being tricked into saying. Like, no, you're an idiot, and he's treating you like one. To me, that's fine. But he gets into the thing with Marlon Wayans because Marlon Wayans, he's like, yo, how much for an interview? And I think Marlon Wayans is like, yo, I need 40,000 or some weird. It could have been 400,000. I don't know. Nah, 400,000 is too high. Ain't no way he asked for $500,000, but like 40,000 and shit like that. And Vlad got so mad because he's a cornball himself, right? Vlad's a corny nigga, right? He's not a nigga, but he's a corny dude. So he exposes the price because he's offended, and he's like, yo, this guy tried to charge me 40,000 for an interview, and quiet as kept. I'm with Vlad because Marlon Wayans start talking, and this is the thing about the internet. Everybody likes to follow shit, right? Everybody get online. Do you know who Marlon Wayans is? Do you know what he's done? And I'm like, yo, I'm not trying to undermine Marlon Wayans. I'm really not. I like A Haunted House. I know that he's produced and been a part of producing a lot of great movies, a lot of great moments in the black in the quote unquote black community and all that shit. Like, I get it, man. Like, I truly do get it. Like, the man has has lived an impressive life and has an impressive resume in TV and film. I'm sorry, like, I'm not gonna do this thing where like he's like some fucking
like he's God.
Yeah, like, I'm not holding him on to this fucking like, yo, this is one of our greats. Like, I'm not doing that with him. I'm not doing that with him. He has produced some funny shit, but I'm not doing that with him where a motherfucker can't be like, that's too much. Like, a motherfucker tell you that's too much for him to pay. You go, what you mean that's too much? You disrespecting us. Like, I don't know that. Because I think it's some niggas that he would have paid $40,000 for. I just don't think he felt like. And he was crunching the numbers and shit. And then, of course, Marlon Wayne goes on the Shannon Sharp thing and it blows the fuck up because he just had the thing with Vlad. And he like, see, I went and took my shit and got all these views. Nigga, if we didn't have that beef, I wouldn't have gotten that many views if you came. If this would have just went regular and you just pulled up and we didn't have none of this friction, it wouldn't have done what it did on the fucking Shannon Sharp podcast. It did that because everybody was looking to see the next stage of the drama. You know what I'm saying? Like, really, you know what I'm saying? But listen, a W is a W. A win is a win, and that was his moment to dunk on Vlad, and I totally get it. But this all comes back, right? I'm old now. I talk in circles and then I bring it back. This all comes back to why I checked the special out, because I was like, oh yeah. He on the tip of the tongue right now. Pause. He's in the you know what I mean? Nigga been in a little limelight lately. I've been seeing him and shit like that. Like, he was running around promoting these stand-up specials. Let me see what the fuck is up. And Ashley woke up right at the beginning of this, and it's like, yo, we got to watch it together as a family. And I'll be damned, that was the worst shit I've ever seen. That shit was so bad. And I was like, yo, I'm talking about 10 minutes in. I'm like, why am I not laughing? I'm trying to follow the bit. The bit is all convoluted. He's everywhere. At one point, he spits. Like, to try to sell a joke. And that's the worst part. Is like, not only are these jokes some of the worst jokes I've ever heard, but like, he's selling them. Like, he's laughing. He's climbing on the stool. He's gesticulating. He's humping. You know niggas going for gold when they start humping the stool. People don't understand. People think that humping the stool is some lowbrow shit that you can just get off if you're not funny. No. You have to actually be funny to hump the stool. I've only seen like 2 or 3 people hump the stool and be funny at the same time. The vast majority of people that hump the stool are not funny. So when you find yourself humping a stool, you have to look up and think to yourself, like, am I not funny? Because either you're one of the funniest niggas working, or you're not funny. And Marlon Wayans is not funny. I'm talking about, but it's weird. It's weird because I feel like he should have bombed, but he didn't bomb. Like, people were laughing. And again, like, this is like, you know, he's been a guy. First of all, he's a Wayans, right? We love the Wayans, right? Yes, not me, but you guys love the Wayans. I don't love anybody who I don't know, but you guys love the Wayans, right? And I like some of the stuff that he's been in. So I think you're getting that name recognition applause, but people were like legitimately laughing. It wasn't like knock him dead. Like, he wasn't knocking anybody dead, but like, people were laughing at these jokes like they were funny, and they weren't. So in my mind, it feels like I'm watching somebody bomb. Like, I'm just like, yo, it's been 20 minutes and I haven't laughed. And what's going on? And this nigga's wearing the stool. He's humping the stool. He's spitting. He spat to sell a joke. He kept making the slave face. Like, when he's like he's got this face he makes, there's no real way for me to describe it. It's like, it's a minstrel show face. It's very, very, it's giving Sambo. It's minstrelly. It's a lot of lip and teeth. I don't like it. I'm not a big fan. It makes me uncomfortable. It makes me feel like it's something that another black person shouldn't do in front of white people. And I'm not that type of guy. I'm really not. I don't think that we have to behave in front of white people or any of that. It just feels like he's making fun of me when he makes that face. And he's drooling. And so I'm like, fuck that. Let me turn on another one. I'm like, fuck that, we gotta try the next one. Maybe the next one is funnier. And you know what I'm saying? And I'm like, it
just got worse.
Yeah, I'm like, babe, was that trash? And she was like, yeah, no, this sucks. And I was like, all right, cool. We gave it like another 10 minutes. We put on the other one. This one is worse. This one is worse. I'm talking about he has like a 10-minute bit about Audi belly buttons, and it's not funny. Again, he's got lofty goals. You have to be so fucking funny to make 20 minutes on Audi belly buttons work. You have to be a really funny comedian to do that, and he's not. He's not that. At one point during the act, he pulls his ass cheeks out and walks around to simulate...
Like his whole ass was out.
To simulate like being a bad child with like a full diaper. He just pulls his ass out and walks around the stage. Like, I'm telling you, this is demonstrably bad. It's actually terrible stuff. Like, this is some of the worst shit I've ever seen. Like, for the rest of my life, I'm going to put on these comedy specials around people that I care about and friends, and I'm gonna go, yo, I can't believe how bad this shit is. Have you seen this? It was so bad that I got on Twitter. And I put in the search bar Marlon Wayne stand-up because I had to see. I know I was late. I know nobody was talking about it now, but I had to see if people were talking about it. And you had like your two fucking idiot jerk-offs who were like, yo, this Marlon Wayne shit is mad funny. The Chris Rock shit. The Chris Rock bit was terrible. But it was probably the funniest bit he had between the two specials that I saw, which just says a lot. And the only part of the bit that was funny was the Chris Rock impression, right? Which was only good 50% of the time. He would lose it sometimes, but when it was good, it was good. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that really wasn't even like a joke. Like, the joke wasn't funny. The joke was like about the Will Smith slap. I didn't think that was funny at all. The joke was kind of like, like the only funny part about it was like, oh, he do know Chris Rock, and he is like, that is a decent Chris Rock imitation. I bet you he know that. I bet you he do that so good because he been around him. You know what I'm saying? Like, so you chuckle at that. You're like, these niggas do know each other. That's crazy. But other than that, like, it's bad. It's really bad. I would encourage everybody to go check out the Marlon Wayne stand-up stuff on Max because it's like The Ring. I gotta show you the video now that I've seen the video because I can't be the only one. Like, nigga, if I'm gonna die in 7 days, somebody gotta come with me, boy. Like, cause I send that video around, bro. Like, niggas would be mad if I stumble upon that video for The Ring. I'm inviting the homies over. Yo, y'all gotta see this. I just found the dopest indie film ever, bro. We gonna watch that shit and then we all gonna get our phone calls 7 days. And I'm be like, you know, I just love y'all niggas so much. I ain't wanna go without you. I figure anywhere I go, I want my niggas with me, man. So why not help? But no, it's terrible. That's how my week is going. I'm gonna try to give y'all Falling in the Forest content once a week. If I don't have anything to talk about, I'm not going to force it. Y'all might get it every 2 weeks. Y'all might get it every 3 weeks. I'm really just trying to feel my way out with this. I don't even know how I feel about this episode. I'll have to listen back to it. I will put it out. I will give it to you. I'm sure none of you made it to the end. But if you did, just know that, you know, we're trying to find our footing and see where this thing goes. But honestly, your man Jack saved the episode because I don't know what I would have for y'all. I probably would have had 15, 20 minutes and I'd have had to check out on y'all niggas if it wasn't for good old Jack. Shout out to Jack Teixeira. I'm debating writing him a letter because I want to pick his brain. I want to figure out where his head is at. I think in 6 to 8 months I'm going to write him a letter and see if he'll respond. I'm not going to tell him I'm black, obviously. But I want to see where his head's at. I want to see if he still believes in all that shit and everything like that. And this is what you got to remember, bro. When you crash out, everybody who was there with you but who didn't crash out the way you crashed out, they are going to be there talking about how much of a crash out you are. Like, they're going to be laughing, chuckling. They're going to be on camera with a Washington Post reporter for a PBS special about your fuckery, about how fucked you are. You get what I'm saying? Like, I'm talking about literally one of them was like, I was like, obviously this guy's an idiot and he's going to jail. I'm like, nigga, you was in the racial chat too. You here looking at the same documents that he put in the chat. You figure because you ain't put them in the chat that you're not going to jail. And you know what? He was right. He didn't go to jail. Only Jack went to jail. Make some noise for Jack. Make some noise for fucking Jack, bro. And that's it. That's all I got for y'all this week. What we did like 50 minutes. This shit I didn't deserve. This didn't deserve to be 50 minutes. I gotta apologize to y'all, but at the end of the day, those y'all that stuck with it, It's more to come. We'll find our way. Fav.